For 3 years, I was trapped in a fake marriage with Michael the Demon CEO. The day I asked for divorce, he calmly agreed. But suddenly, floating text appeared above his head. This crazy guy already has chains and toys. Custom made for her in the basement. Stop pretending to be a gentleman, girl. The second you sign those papers, you'll wake up in his basement with this psycho. Finally, the imprisonment storyline is coming. This demon's true form has spikes. Deserves what's coming after all the evil things she's done. Girl, you're so stupid. If you'd just been a little nice to him these past years, this lovesick maniac would have worshipped you. Now he's twisted with hate. My hand shook. As I was signing, I looked at the expressionless man across from me. Actually, let's not get divorced. What? Michael's cold eyes barely lifted. His indifferent expression made me doubt if I'd actually seen those floating messages. I took a deep breath, put down the pen, and grumbled for an explanation. I suddenly don't want a divorce anymore. We've been together for 3 years. We're used to each other. I actually can't bear to leave you. As I spoke, his expression grew more confused, and my voice got quieter. My marriage to Michael was an accident. 5 years ago, everything changed when Sarah, a broken turn, joined our company. My perfect life fell apart. My childhood sweetheart, who promised to take care of me forever, fell for her and publicly broke our engagement, humiliating me. Even my parents, who always spoiled me, suddenly took Sarah's side. I was furious and jealous. To prove I wasn't unwanted, I married Michael out of spite. He was the demon CEO everyone feared and avoided. For 3 years after marriage, I constantly fought with Sarah, but always lost. Either Michael would stop me beforehand, or my schemes would backfire on me. Recently, my plots against Sarah were exposed. I was completely ruined, and many friends cut ties with me. I knew Michael always hated my evil behavior and favored Sarah. Rather than wait for him to abandon me like everyone else, I decided to dump him first. At least that would look cooler. When I texted him about divorce, Michael was in an important meeting, but he called back immediately. Reason? His voice came through the phone. I laughed cruelly. Last time the bathroom door wasn't closed properly. I accidentally saw your tail. It was slimy and disgust. So now when I said I couldn't bear to leave him, even I didn't believe it. Sure you don't want a divorce? His deep voice pulled me back from my thoughts, without the cold laugh I expected. Not for now. I watched Michael's expression, but saw no joy on his face. Whatever. After a few seconds, he took the half-signed divorce papers and put them in the shredder. More floating text appeared. What's wrong with this evil girl? Did she suddenly grow a brain? Is Emma finally getting smart and trying to win over the male lead? Too bad it's a bit late. His hatred has already grown. Who says it's too late? This timing is perfect. Didn't you see how happy he was when he shredded those papers? And that shredder is hilarious. This guy was so scared she'd change her mind. Keep going, girl. Don't stop. This demon guy is a psycho with no morals. And you're evil. You're perfect for each other. Win him over and you won't have to worry about losing to Sarah anymore. I spent the whole afternoon figuring things out. Finally, I understood that I was living in a romance novel. Sarah was the female lead, and I was the evil supporting character who gets imprisoned and dies. No wonder everyone who met Sarah was drawn to her. Like the whole world revolved around her. After processing so much information today, I took a bath and opened my phone to relax. I saw endless hate comments. All my social media was flooded with people defending Sarah. My ex-fiance, David, texted me. Emma, don't think I don't know. You're just using these dirty tricks to force me to leave Sarah and be with you. Huh? You went through all this trouble just to see me, right? Fine. You got what you wanted. Friday afternoon, same place. I didn't reply. I blocked him and turned off my phone. More floating text here. I'm not defending her, but the evil girl's behavior makes sense. She was a proud, rich princess, and overnight her parents, lover, and friends all ignored her. For another girl, I'd go crazy too. She's beautiful and rich. Why should she lose to Sarah, who can't even tell the difference between Word and Google Docs? These novels have no logic. If I were the author, I'd slap the dumb heroine once, slap the male lead twice, and lock the evil girl with the psycho demon forever. How about that? Not happening. After calming down, I got ready for bed. I'd just taken off my clothes when the bedroom door suddenly opened. Michael's eyes traveled down my body. I quickly grabbed a robe and covered myself. Sorry. You locked the door. Michael stared at me intensely, his throat moving, black scales flickering on his skin. When demons get aroused, they can't help showing their true form. The word "get out" was on my tongue, but I saw the floating text. I can already guess. The evil girl will look disgusted and tell him to get out. What a waste. The male lead's love gets worn away bit by bit. Like this. Emma, be gentle with your husband. If you slap him now, your mouth will suffer in that basement later. Split lips hurt a lot. Warned by the floating text. I quickly changed my tone and smiled softly at Michael. It's okay.
On.
Michael stopped mid-step as he was about to leave. His eyes darkening, waiting for me to continue. All that floating text calling him hubby threw me off.
I'm dying.
Just say it. One hubby, and he'll give you his life. Sarah means nothing. Stop making the male lead sound so cheap. After 3 years of old treatment, he definitely hates her more than loves her. Don't forget, he imprisons her to death to protect the heroine. The floating texts into 2 arguing groups. I raised an eyebrow, wanting to test if this information was real. Following the moment, I teased Michael. Do I have a good body? Average. The man looked down coldly, his expression unreadable. Stop pretending, dude. Being stubborn and won't get you a wife. No wonder she's been in love with the male lead all these years. You kind of deserve it. Am I seeing things? Why doesn't the evil girl seem to hate the male lead today? Are we evil couple shippers finally getting somewhere? I took a step forward, not giving up. You haven't even looked. How do you know it's average? Don't need to look, Michael replied coldly. But his fingers curled involuntarily, his knuckles showing a faint ink, almost tearing holes in his pants. I never noticed before.
Or how cute he looked when shy.
I noticed Michael's collar was messy and reached out to fix it. Don't touch. The cold warning came from above. So harsh I froze, remembering the arguing floating text. Right? I'd never been nice to Michael in 3 years. Instead, Sarah was like sunshine, always encouraging him to overcome his darkness. It was normal for Michael to hate me. I laughed bitterly early and pulled back my hand. Remember to close the door when you leave. I need to sleep. The man closed the door, but didn't leave. Instead, he walked toward me, step by step. His hot breathing became more obvious. His eyes red from restraint. I finally realized something was wrong. Michael, what's wrong? Do you have a fever? Loading text. More like he's in heat. Dude, don't be so easy. She was just casually flirting. And you're so excited your mating season came early. Michael, what's wrong? I asked, my voice trembling slightly. The floating text above his head was going berserk. OMG, run girl. He's in rut. No, don't run. If you run, the chase instinct kicks in. Establish dominance. Pet the lizard. Lizard? He's an abyssal dragon demon. Show some respect. Kiss him. One kiss, and the basement plot is cancelled.
Michael didn't speak.
He braced one hand against the wall behind me, boxing me in. His skin was burning hot, radiating heat that I could feel even through my robe. The black scales on his neck were spreading upward, framing a jawline that was tight with tension. You? His voice was a guttural growl, vibrating in his chest. You asked if I had a fever. You look like you do, I whispered, forcing myself to hold his gaze. The old Emma would have screamed and thrown a vase. The new Emma, armed with the knowledge that this man was a lovesick maniac, decided to gamble. I reached out. She's doing it. She's touching him. Careful with the scales, they're sharp. My fingers brushed the side of his neck. The scales were hard like obsidian but warm. Michael flinched as if he'd been burned, his pupils constricting into vertical slits, pure predator eyes. He stopped breathing. Emma, he warned, his voice straining. Don't play games. I am not in a state to be teased. I'm not teasing. I lied smoothly. I'm your wife. If you're not feeling well, isn't it my job to take care of you? The text exploded. Critical hit. Did you see his ears turn red? The Demon King is blushing. He's mentally planning their 50th anniversary right now. Wait, look at his tail. I glanced down. A thick, black tail with a dangerous spade-shaped tip had materialized from beneath his suit jacket. It was swishing aggressively back and forth, knocking over a pile of books on my nightstand. Thump, thump, thump. Your tail is out, I pointed out softly. Michael froze. He looked horrified. For a demon who prided himself on control, on being the terrifying CEO, showing his primal form to the woman who supposedly hated him was his nightmare. He pulled back sharply, stumbling toward the door. Forget this happened, he rasped, his hand covering his face. Go to sleep. He turned to flee. Wait. I moved on instinct. I grabbed his wrist. The moment my skin touched his, a jolt of electricity went through the room. Michael whipped around, his eyes wide. I don't want a divorce, I said, repeating my words from earlier, but this time with conviction. And I don't want you to run away. If you're uncomfortable, you can stay. Just don't bite me. Michael stared at me for a long, agonizing minute. The red in his eyes slowly faded back to a deep, dark brown. The scales receded. You have no idea what you are asking for, he whispered. But he didn't leave. He sat on the edge of the bed, stiff as a board, while I lay down. He stayed there all night, guarding me like a gargoyle, his tail occasionally twitching with happiness at the foot of the bed. The floating text hovered over his sleeping form the next morning. Satisfaction level, 99%. Current status, considering buying her a country. Friday came. The meeting with David. I dressed not in the modest, elegant clothes I usually wore to please my parents, but in a striking crimson dress that hugged every curve. I applied dark red lipstick. The evil girl look. Yes, queen. Slay. David is going to regret being born. Spoiler alert. Michael is tracking her phone. He's currently doing 100 miles per hour on the highway to intercept. I arrived at the cafe. David was there, looking impatient. When he saw me, his eyes widened, then narrowed into a smirk. I knew you'd come, David scoffed, leaning back. You always come running. Look, Emma, tell Michael to release the funding for Sarah's project, and maybe I'll consider unblocking your number. I sat down, crossing my legs. You misunderstood, David. Misunderstood what? That you're obsessed with me? He laughed. Sarah told me everything. How you cry at night missing me. I pulled out my phone. Actually, I came to record this. I held up the screen. You, asking me to commit corporate embezzlement for your mistress. Michael's lawyers will love this. David's face went pale. You crazy bitch. Give me that phone. He lunged across the table. Suddenly, a large, calloused hand clamped onto David's shoulder. The pressure was immense. I heard David's collarbone pop. Is there a problem here? A voice like crushed ice filled the cafe. Michael stood there. He was wearing a trench coat, looking like a vengeful god. The floating text above him was a thunderstorm of angry emojis. Kill him, Michael. Rip his head off. Wait, look at Michael's other hand. He brought her boba tea? Priorities. David shrieked, falling back into his seat. Michael. She lured me here. She was trying to seduce me. I stood up, walking to Michael's side. I didn't defend myself. I just slipped my hand into the crook of Michael's arm and leaned my head on his shoulder. Husband, I said sweetly. He's annoying. Can we go home? The silence in the cafe was deafening. Michael looked down at me, stunned. The rage that was about to incinerate the building evaporated, replaced by a confused, overwhelming adoration. Husband, he echoed, testing the word.
Yes.
And you bought me boba? I took the cup from his free hand. Michael looked at David, then back at me. He smirked, a terrifying, arrogant, demon smirk. We're leaving, Michael said. David, expect a bankruptcy filing by morning. As we walked to the car, the floating text cheered. The ex-fiance arc is over in record time. Now on to the main villain, the White Lotus Sarah. Warning, Sarah has acquired a love potion item from the author. Keep Michael away from beverages at the gala tonight. I nearly choked on my boba. Love potion? Really? This novel was trashy, but it was my life now. The company anniversary gala was the battlefield. Sarah appeared in a white, angelic gown, looking teary-eyed and fragile. Every man in the room seemed drawn to her, a supernatural halo effect granted to heroines. I stood by Michael's side. He was tense. He hated crowds, and usually, I would leave him to suffer while I chased David. Tonight, I held his hand firmly. Don't drink anything unless I hand it to you, I whispered. Michael raised an eyebrow. Poison.
Worse.
Bad writing, I mumbled. Sarah approached us, holding 2 glasses of champagne. Her hands were shaking. Michael, Emma, I just want to apologize. I never wanted to come between you two. She offered the glass to Michael. The floating text appeared in bold red. Danger. That's the one. Michael reached for it. Oh, I'm so thirsty. I snatched the glass from Sarah's hand before Michael could touch it.
No.
Sarah cried out, breaking character. I pretended to stumble, splashing the champagne all over Sarah's white dress. Oops, I deadpanned. Sarah shrieked. You did that on purpose. Michael, look at her. She's bullying me again. Usually, the crowd would turn on me. David would yell. My parents would scold me. But I looked up at Michael. She tried to give you a drink that smelled funny. I was protecting you. It was a flimsy excuse. But Michael didn't care about logic. He cared that I was jealous. He cared that I was protecting him. He looked at Sarah, who was sobbing on the floor. Get out, Michael said coldly. Sarah froze. What? You upset my wife. Get out. The floating text went wild. Plot, armor shattered. The male lead just kicked the heroine out. Wait.
Warning.
Plot correction initiated. The kidnapping storyline is being forced. Suddenly, the lights in the ballroom went out. Chaos erupted. I felt a heavy blow to the back of my head. The last thing I heard was Michael's roar, a sound that wasn't human, before everything went black. I woke up in a damp, cold room. My hands were tied. Finally awake, princess? It wasn't Michael. It was a rival businessman, Mr. Chin, who had been a minor villain in the book. Beside him stood a disheveled Sarah. You ruined everything. Sarah hissed, her innocent mask gone. Michael was supposed to fall for me tonight. The plot said so.
She knew?
Was she a transmigrator too? Or just crazy? He's coming for me, I said calmly. Let him come, Chin laughed. I have demon-suppressing chains. When he arrives to save you, we'll capture him, harvest his scales, and I'll be the new CEO.
Boom.
The steel door of the warehouse flew off its hinges, crushing a henchman. Michael stood in the doorway. But it wasn't the Michael I knew. He was 7 feet tall. Horns curled from his temples. His skin was covered in armor-like scales, and his tail lashed behind him, cracking the concrete floor. His eyes were burning coals of hellfire. Demon form unleashed. He's going to kill everyone. Run, Sarah, you idiot. Bad end imminent. If Michael kills humans, he gets exiled to the abyss forever. Emma, stop him, Michael roared, and the sound shattered the windows. He lunged at Chen, claws ready to rip his throat out. Michael, stop. I screamed. The monster froze, his claws inches from Chen's face. He turned his head slowly toward me.
He didn't recognize me.
The madness had taken over. He's lost control. He needs an anchor. Kiss him. It's the only way to reset his cognitive functions. I struggled against the ropes. Michael, look at me. It's Emma. He snarled, stepping toward me. He looked ready to devour me. You promised. I shouted, tears welling up. You promised to check the basement for toys, not use them on me. It was a stupid, nonsensical thing to say, but the absurdity of it pierced through the rage. Michael blinked. I managed to slip one hand free, thanks to years of yoga, and scrambled up. I didn't run away. I ran to him. I threw my arms around his scaled, terrified neck. He was scorching hot. Come back, I whispered into his ear. I'm safe. Nobody hurt me. Come back to me, hubby. The monster shuddered. A low whine escaped his throat. Slowly, the scales began to recede. The horns dissolved into smoke. He shrank back down, collapsing into my arms, naked and vulnerable. He buried his face in my neck, shaking uncontrollably. I thought, I lost you. I glared at Sarah and Chin over Michael's shoulder. They were paralyzed with fear. Call the police, I told a floating text or the universe. And tell them the heroine just kidnapped the CEO's wife. 3 months later, Sarah was in jail for kidnapping and attempted murder. David was bankrupt and working at a gas station. I was sitting in Michael's office, reading a book. Michael was working, but every 30 seconds he would look up just to make sure I was still there. The floating text had become quieter lately, mostly just gushing over our outfits. So, are we going to talk about the basement? Yeah, did he ever use the chains? I looked at Michael. The readers want to know about the basement. Michael didn't even look up from his documents. Tell them it's been renovated. Renovated into what? A home theater. He paused, with a very strong lock on the inside. I laughed. The truth was, the basement did have chains. But Michael had melted them down the day after the kidnapping. He had made me a necklace out of a silver, a small, delicate chain. He walked over to me, his tail, which he now let out freely at home and in the office, wrapping around my ankle possessively. You know, he said, leaning down to kiss my forehead. I heard the voices too. I froze. What? The floating text, Michael murmured. I've seen them since the day we married.
They told me you hated me.
They told me I was a monster who would kill you. That's why I agreed to the divorce. I wanted you to survive. My heart broke a little. You saw them?
Yes.
But then, he touched my cheek. Then the text changed. They said you were fighting for me. They said you saw me, not the monster. I do see you, I said. Then I don't care about the plot, Michael said, his dark eyes full of warmth. Let the author write what they want. I'm writing the sequel. He kissed me, and for the first time, the floating text disappeared completely. The story was no longer a novel. It was just ours.